Good morning and welcome back to Tabletop Tuesday here on Gaming with ADHD, where today we're going to be taking a look at Neotopia from Boardgames and Arcane Wonders. Now, this game was developed by Orlando Sa and André Santos with arts by Thiago Lobo Pimentel. Now, this is a game that I had no idea about, but when I was at Dice Tower West this year, I actually met the marketing manager for Arcane Wonders, and she actually provided the copy of Neotopia for me to do a review on. Now, while I did receive the game for free, I hope that my review will be an honest representation of my opinion, but I do want to make sure that I'm very upfront about that so that you can take your opinion of this review into consideration. So, before we get started, do make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I try to cover a few different things each week, whether it's board games, miniatures, or role-playing, or anything in between. And I'd love for you to come along and see what we have to share. In addition, there are going to be links down below for affiliate links to Amazon and DriveThruRPG. If you think this is a good game, feel free to use those to pick it up. But obviously, I'm just grateful you're here and checking this out. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, because of when I received this game, we're going to do this review a little bit different. Normally, I like to do an unboxing video and then come back and look at it later. I was too excited to get into the game, so that didn't happen. So we're going to kind of we'll look at the components, and I'll give a little bit of a breakdown on how the game plays, and we'll go from there. So, first off, you have the box here. The premise of the game is you and the other players are trying to build the city of the future, and you have to use the energy, technology, community or population, and agriculture in order to do so. So, let's see. My infamously small work table. All right, we got our board here. We're going to come back to this in a minute. So let's just go ahead and set that to the side. All right, so first off, as far as the review is concerned, the rulebook. The rulebook is very well laid out. The game is rather lightweight, but with some good strategy to it. But the main takeaway from the rulebook is it's very easy to learn just from the rulebook. You don't need to go watch a video. It's not going to stress you out on how to play. And it's going to be very easy for everybody to understand. Lots of pictures, lots of color, everything very well laid out. All of your resources are represented by these plastic tokens. At least I'm assuming they're plastic. Could be some sort of resin, something. Anyways, they're very, very good quality. It's a nice print on both sides for all of them. So they are also rather colorblind friendly if that is an issue for you, because the images are clearly printed as well. So if you have a trouble with the colors, you can at least know that the symbol is going to work out well. Actually, now that I think about it, let me pull a few of each of these out, because we'll need that when I show you how to play the game. But overall, the colors are bright, the colors are easy to understand, and the symbols are, work just as well. All right. For the players basically take control of each of the different colors. Each person is going to get a token representing which color they are, and then they'll also get 3 of these scoring tokens. And we'll explain why there's 3 of them here in a minute. The tokens, again, match the player token, but then they are also double-sided to represent once you've completed that portion of the track. So each player gets the character token and 3 of the scoring tokens. All right, now on the board, you're also going to have these bonus tokens. There are 4 different ones. This is going to give you a different action, or not a different, but an extra action. This will let you bring one of the resources out of the supply and play it into the board. This lets you draw 2 cards. And this lets you play a piece outside of the play area. Again, we'll get into that as we go over the rules here in just a minute. But that is the bonus tokens. And then for the game, you're going to use this stack of tiles. And basically, this is where you're going to put the resources that will come into play as the game goes along. Now, when you start, you'll have one of each sitting on the top. And then when those get used, you'll flip over the token and it will show you what pieces to place on the next one. So on the next piece, we would have 2 red, a green, and a blue. Now, with this, if you're playing with all 4 players, you're going to use all of them. If you are playing with 3 players, you will take 2 of these out. These are the one, just any of the tiles that have this little person symbol. And if you're only playing with 2 players, you'll take all 3 of those out. All right, and then finally, there are cards. You have a first player card. It's not that important. The first player doesn't change. You'll have character cards. The reason for the tokens is that the character card does have these tracks to track the actions that you've taken. We never used them. It's fine if you want to track that, if you think you need to. We never found it necessary. All right, and then finally you have this deck of cards. Now this deck represents the different technologies that you're going to build. Some are related to energy, some are related to agriculture. Usually they are going to use 2 different pieces of technology. Now the art on the card is extremely important, okay? Because when you are going to complete one of the cards, basically to complete a card, you have to have resources on the board that match the shape shown on the card. So you have to have 2 red with 1 blue, and you have to have it in this particular pattern. Now, you can rotate it anyway, so however it matches, as long as it does match that configuration, you can go ahead and do so. You'll play that into a space on the board, and that indicates that it's been played. Now, from there, what it means is if this is my card, and I just completed this pattern, I can't score points for it in the same territory as this card, because we'd be playing 2 in a row. The catch to that is if I can take any other card and complete that one, I can then come back and complete the next one, because you basically just can't build these all essentially represent buildings, and you can't build 2 at the same time. There are a few cards, such as this one, that have just a single color. Now, the catch to that is if that is your color, so if you are in this case, if you are the green player, and you complete it, you would only score 2 points. If you are any other player and you complete the green pattern, you would score 4 points. So essentially, it gets you to use other people's colors, not just your own. I'm a little confused on that one. I would think that you'd want to get bonus points for completing your particular targets. But no. It's kind of odd. I don't completely understand it, but whatever. It's the way the rule works, and we never had any issues with it. But there are a variety of different images, so there is plenty for you to do. You don't have to worry about, getting stuck or having, to always deal with your particular color. It's not usually a problem. You just have to be careful of playing the same card on the same territory. So let's move that box out of the way, and let's kind of show you how this works on the infamously small work table. All right. Don't worry, folks. This will work. All right. So here we have a portion of the game board. Now, I'm only showing you a portion of it because honestly, that's going to be more than enough. So, the stack of tiles that I mentioned earlier, these get placed in the center of the board. From the center of the board, there are going to be 3 spokes. They're called factories. Okay, so you'll have one here, and one going off the other direction. Yes, it's there. I've just got the board folded in half. Okay. Now, when the game starts, you'll have one of each resource in each of the factories, just like that. You'll also have one of each resource in the center of the board. You'll take your bonus tokens, shuffle them up, and you will place one on each of these circles that has a ring in it. And then you will also take a stack of 4, and you'll put them right here. I know, folks. One day, I have plans to make a bigger work table, but we'll get there eventually. Actually, I have a way I think I can show it off. Here, let's just move that. So you'll put a stack here, and then this is where you're going to play the cards that I talked about a moment ago. All right, so let's kind of fix this. All right. Now, before the game starts, each player has the option to take any resource of any color and place it onto the board. Now, whoever the first player is, they'll take a token, they'll pick one of the 3 zones, and they'll put a resource in that central zone. Now, each player after that has the option to either place their resource next to the piece that's already on the board, or they can place it on the centerpiece of a different zone. Once all players have placed their resources out on the board, then the actual play will commence. All right. One thing to keep in mind, if there is a zone where the centerpiece hasn't been taken right away, then, anytime somebody wants to play in that particular zone, the first piece will always go into that centerpiece, or that center spot. All right. From there, you have the choice of 2 different actions, and you must take 3 of them. You will have a hand of 4 cards to start. So I'll start with those. And then you will have, to the side of the board, and we'll just do it right here, just for convenience sake, you'll have the deck. And then you will also have 4 cards available for what's called the offer. All right. So on my turn, I can take a resource out of one of the factories, and I can move it into play in either of the 2 adjacent zones. So I can't take a piece and move it into the third zone. Basically, it has to be moved into one of the two zones that the factory is touching. So it does limit what resources you're going to have access to, but it can go either direction. So that would be one action. Then actually here, we'll do that. And then for my second action, I can move another resource. In this case, that would complete this card because I have 2 green and a blue. So I'll put that down. And then I will take should have kept this out, but oh well. I will take my score token that starts here on the track. So right down here. And I'll move it up 3 spaces. If I ever pass any of these highlighted spots on the score track, I will get to take a bonus token from the stack. If I ever complete the track, I'll flip it over to show that I've scored the 20 points for that particular zone. If you are ever moving resources into a zone and you want to place it on the spot where a bonus token is, obviously as long as it's meeting all of the other rules, you do so and you take the token into your hand. And then finally, the other action that you can take is you can draw a card from either the offer. So I could take this as my third action, or I could take the card from the top of the deck and just pick something at random instead of from whatever's in the offer. But essentially that is all you have to do to take your turn. To end the game, once you have gone through all of these stacks, or all of these tiles in the center stack, you will have this piece come up. Once it does, you finish the current round, and then you take one final round. Once the final round is complete, then you're going to do the final scoring. Now keep in mind, there are 3 zones, and each zone has its own set of, or its own scoring track. Okay, so for the scoring track, you want to make sure that you are scoring points in all of the zones, not just one of them, because of the way that the scoring is done. So first off, at the end of the game, you are going to total what's called your cluster. So basically you take your color, and in this case, so say I was purple, my largest cluster is 2 purple tokens, so I would get 2 bonus points for this zone. I was already at 3, so we go up to 5. And then once you've scored the cluster for all of the zones, then you'll go ahead and do your final scoring. So final scoring can get a little tricky, but it's honestly not that hard. I know, I'm super professional at all this, folks. All right, so this is the included score sheet, which is nice. It's, nice and simple, nice little pad, double-sided. We've never used it. Part of the reason I never used it, the Boardgames Stats app actually has a score sheet included for this, so it's actually pretty easy. But the way that this works, in the first line, you're going to put the zone that you scored the most points in. Okay? So, just as an example, blue scored 17 points in their largest zone. Red scored 12. Then you're going to put in your second largest zone. So for blue, it was 13 in their second largest zone. For red, it was 9. And then for the third largest zone for blue, they only scored 3 points. And red scored 8. Okay, so you're going to put all of your zones in um, in order. Now you'll notice in the third slot, you actually get to multiply them. So for blue, it ends up with 9 points, and for red, it ends up with 24. You'll also score 3 points per bonus token. So say blue had 2, so he gets 6, and red had 4, so he's got 12. All right, so we total all the points up. So we've got 39, 45 points. We've got 21, 45, 57 for a total of 57 points for red. And so red wins. So even though red was scoring lower points, that is one thing that we did notice is that as long as you're keeping all of your zones pretty close together, you can do pretty well at scoring in the game, which I think is nice because it does make sure that you're not concentrating everything into one zone. You have to work all of them together, which when you're talking about building this, harmonious, integrated city of the future, you want it balanced. You want everything working together and no particular zone, overtaxing the particular resources available. So I thought it was an interesting little twist. The bonus tokens, it's also nice because they allow you to do extra things, but there's a good reason to hold on to them. At 3 points apiece, they're pretty valuable, but are you going to be able to use that to score a flat 5-point card or get that zone, it's your third place zone, but get it up to 6 or 7 points instead of the 4 or 5 points that it was at. So there's definitely a lot that you can do with it. Overall, essentially that's the game in a nutshell. It plays very, very quickly. We played it in about an hour each of the games that we played. But one of the interesting things is I played it with my nephew and his wife. They are in their mid-20s. And we also played it with my dad, who's in his 80s. My dad, he slowed down a little bit as far as his movement speed. But he's still got the mental ability, and he was able to pick it up. He doesn't always pick up on some of the more complicated games, but he jumped in, he played. My nephew, his wife, and I, we ended up playing about 3 times. No. Yes, we played 3 times. With my dad, we played 2 times, and with another nephew, we played another time. But it was also kind of funny. It was because when we brought in the other nephew, and the 4 of us are there playing, and my dad comes over, and he was really disappointed that he didn't get in on the game. So overall, I absolutely love this game. It's a nice, lightweight game, but it still gives you enough, strategy to try and figure out how you're going to play the pieces, what resources do you have available in the factories as the game goes along, and what can you do to make sure that you're balancing out those points. There was enough to think about, but there wasn't so much that you felt overwhelmed. Honestly, I highly recommend picking this game up if you have access to it. It's a lot of fun, and I absolutely love it. Big thank you to Arcane Wonders and Bree for hooking me up with a copy of this game. It is definitely one that's going to be in the collection for quite a while because I just really enjoy it. So, with that said, thanks for watching. Let me know down below. Have you played Neotopia? What did you think of it? Is this your first time seeing it? I'd love to hear from you. So, with that out of the way, thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you next time.